Hey, everybody. Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen leading the movement for movement, bringing you an exciting edition of Autism. They're all exciting, but this one particularly exciting of Autism Fitness Tuesday Training, our pro interview series. And this time I bring to you, this is a proud moment for me, our master coach in Croatia, Mr. Marko Brusac. Welcome. Thank you. I've been waiting to do this for quite some time. So, a little background info on Marko. Marko came through the pro course in 2019.
To 2019, yeah,
Yeah,
in March.
2019 in my first visit to Croatia. Absolutely beautiful country with extraordinary people. And one of the most extraordinariest of people, Mr. Brusac here. Um, tell uh, tell me just briefly because I want to spend most of this time on some really good topics that you had brought up about group programming and about your own practice. But what was your inroad into the autism fitness curriculum, and what about it really clicked for you?
Hmm. So I already worked for 10 years in Center for Autism here in Croatia, in Rijeka. And after a few years of wandering, wandering around with ideas that after the college, when I finished, this is my first job. So like a kinesiotherapist in center. And after a few years, so it from 2014, and first certification was in 2019. It gave me ideas, and I stopped wondering when I finished autism fitness level 1. Later on, after the coronavirus and those years,
Yeah.
I went on level 2, and now I'm on level 3. So this is just a short introduction. Yes.
Yeah, and now as you are one of the first two master pros in the program, which means that you spent over a year in intensive training, going through the curriculum, presenting, and now in Croatia and eventually throughout Europe, you were able to deliver the pro curriculum. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the quality of your delivery and the way that you are able to teach and convey the methodology to the attendees really shines through because they all do really well in the curriculum, and some of the people who come into that curriculum, just the backgrounds and the stories and the individuals that they're serving. So, can you talk a little bit about your day to day in Center for Autism? So, what does a usual Tuesday or Wednesday look like for you?
I like the question. It has changed in less than years. For example, in the beginning we had adapted PE, which I was doing that with our physiotherapist and also with a special education teacher. And it was wondering, so just basic motoric patterns at the beginning, crawling, pushing, pulling, similar like autism fitness, but I didn't have the structure.
Right.
So it changed the way when I was involved in the process, and I teach special education teacher and other employees who are in the centers to be. My idea is to be replaceable, so to give all the tools to my colleagues that can, so I can work with, how do I say, some of the toughest kid inside the center. So it's like a challenge to me every day. But usually my day looks like that I have 3 or 4 therapists, either one-on-one or either one-on-2, one-on-3, depending on is it a class or is it a group, and depending on their motoric abilities, cognitive skills, and etc. And later on, like today, because we didn't go to swimming, we have some kind of walking with some issues, for example, like incline and something like that. And it was group from now today we were one-on-one, and four of us went with the children to walk nearby with our van. And usually we have swimming or horseback riding lessons. So these are, and this year I'm working more one-on-one on 3, and the special education teacher, they go into the gym that is allocated from our center. They go with a van, and we have some kind of structured program that they are doing according to some of the ideas that we presented in the beginning when we make some kind of observation at the beginning of the year. And
So you're working on goal tracking there?
yes, and we maybe later on I will tell, but we are now working on e-training diary to one European project that will be involved for trainers that are inside of center, and also their parents. Like we are going to give them a homework for parents and for children, just a small exercise that are filmed inside of the project, and we will have communication if they've done it, if there is something that we need to modify, or how to progress after some sessions. And there is also notifications, and there are also two-way communication with the parents, so if they don't know to do something or to make a short video for them. So this is usually my daily work.
All right, so you've trained and developed other professionals in the center so that you can work with some of the more challenging profiles.
Yeah.
Um, and so you're coaching typically 2 to 3 sessions, and then you have other responsibilities there also, training, reports, etc.
Yes. Reports and giving the feedbacks, and also communication. We are at the beginning, we have a few experts that are inside of our multidisciplinary team. We try to do it at the beginning we have a speech therapist, physiologist, then we have art therapist, music therapy, and we try to combine to have some kind of same aim, but on a different in the different areas where they can functioning. So, for example, if we are doing awareness of the body,
Yeah.
we are touching the body, and the music therapy is singing head and shoulder, knees and toes, etc. So
So you have this interdisciplinary model, but everybody's coming together and actually talking about, okay, what are we trying to accomplish with this skill, and how can we do that through each one of these disciplines?
yes, and
Really,
try to follow them up.
yeah. But everybody's speaking, all the different professionals and educators are speaking to each other also. So everybody has an understanding of what those common and specific goals are also.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because there's so much, especially from the fitness side, that's going on um, everywhere from the kinesthetic awareness to uh, to setting an athlete up or a student up for being more focused on speech targets to self-regulation, all of these different major goals and accomplishments that we're often hyper focused on, we can do through fitness and through movement. It just needs to be, number one, it needs to be done correctly, and two, everybody needs to be aware. Everybody needs to be speaking that same language too.
Yeah.
So another thing that I wanted you to speak about a little bit is you and your wife Anna are responsible for having created the national standards in Croatia for adapted physical education. What was the process? How do you even start with that? And then what was, obviously the ultimate goal is to complete the national standards, but in the process of that, what was your goal in, if you have a vision of what should this look like in every classroom, in every gym, how do you work backwards from that vision to putting it into a system and then making sure everybody has what they need in order to accomplish that.
Mhm. So I often listen to your videos, and you are always speaking about a blueprint or the some of the scratches at the beginning. So I start from like, what are the activities that we want them from 7 years old and until 21, because from 7 to 21 they're here in school, but what is something that we want to for them to be more autonomous when they go elderly. So my wife and I, so it was like our Ministry of Health and Education, they got some kind of proposal. If someone wants to answer about to be written by the curriculum of that didn't change for 25 years, and you and I and know that the prevalence is now going much and much children that neurodivergent children and with ASD population. So it's now 1 to 36 if I am updated with the
Yeah, I think
new
that's the way.
research,
Yeah,
something
that's the
like
way it's
that. And we started like thinking what we started to thinking about what the teacher who is teaching the children, not the children, the athletes, uh, what can we give them in order to use it immediately, and it will be easy to share. And it's up to them, according to their material conditions, according to their abilities, according to the space, what is something that they can do immediately and be easy to follow up, to make an assessment, and also to know, because my idea through all this curriculum and to all this e-training diary and etc., the project is to have something that can be done on one place with good assessment, and like in autism fitness program, to make a modification and progression, and it can be easy shareable, not just for me but for all the experts who are involved in the process of fitness of our population.
Yeah. So it's not only something that you designed and developed to distribute to the professionals, but also something that you wanted to involve the parents in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which is was that the goal from the very beginning, or is that something that emerged along the way where you thought, you know what, I want to get this, I, I want to get this distributed to the families as well, or was that always the plan?
I think it was a idea that popped up in case of not emergency, but when we were having coronavirus, we didn't go to school. We have Zoom meetings, and I didn't know if they done it. How are they doing it? They will send me record. When you have now, I have 56 kids in my center. I don't know who sent me, but the reason why I started to think about something that me as a person want to be replaceable. But if I give a tool, then I'm separating the responsibility, and me as a supervisor or other inside of the team can just see a little tiny finest some small things that to change. So the idea was to me to be replaceable, but to give all the tools and all the instructions. Because like, I mean, we were talking about, I think it was in level 2 when I had masters on the summer. I think we spoke about that, just we need to give all the tools.
Yeah.
And the responsibility is not on us, but if you give more and more tool and be just, how do I say, boring,
Yeah.
not pretentious, but be boring,
Yeah.
and be polite, then they will know and to see the progress. And the thing that I like inside of expert level, because we need to film a lot of things, and then you see yourself and you see the improvement of the athletes, and also then parents see what is the progress, and they know, okay, so this is working. So if I do session by session, then they will take the grocery bag from the store and not just be like someone who is walking side the parent.
Yeah. And you bring up something that I think is so important with video, but just in general, sometimes the progress day to day of our athletes, you'll have a session here and there where they just have a light bulb moment or something clicks and you're like, wow, that's a lot of progress. But usually that's not the way it happens, especially with respect to fitness. It's just this continuous, slow, gradual progress. So to be able, even as a practitioner, to look back on the video and say, oh, wow, no, they did, 3 weeks ago, they were not doing this. It's easy to forget. It's really easy to forget because when you're in it and you're doing a session for 45 minutes or 55 minutes one day and then the next day, and then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe there was a little bit of progress. To be able to go back and then to share that with a parent too and say, hey, remember where they were at 2 years ago or even, 2 months ago.
And I just wanted to mention that's why I was thinking about having some kind of e-training diary. And throughout this project, I mean, it's like here. So this is
Oh, yeah.
oh, so we are offering the training diary because we all use mobile phone every day. Why not to use it in purpose that can be useful in, and like you mentioned, I forgot sometimes to take a note, but if I take a note and it can be shared to the clubs, then it will be great to implement that. So they will know that now today they done 3 sets of 10 repetition of squat. Now then, I mean, we discuss about overtraining that doesn't in ASD population doesn't happen so often.
Yeah.
I mean, probably never.
I haven't seen an incidence of overtraining.
Yes, there is some soreness, but we cannot, and you see those red cheeks, but
Yeah.
this is just something that we put the watch to measure the pulse, we monitor the frequency and everything else, but it doesn't happen. But some of the notes, and I like to film a lot of things and go with the colleagues. So this is something that he likes this ball. He likes after break, he likes to use this. And if we have this exchanging of the knowledge, then it's useful for all of us in the process of progressing. It doesn't matter in what area, but this is something that I just wanted to mention. Well,
Yeah. So since you've implemented the e-training diary, are you still in beta phase or is it actually
yeah,
being?
we are still now we are going to start to see how it will work until this end of this year, and hopefully go widely with another centers, clubs, and we are thinking about making a toolbox. So like it will be the package, and you will get a certificate for the app and all the equipment like elastic bands and something like that that can be useful. And I'm returning back. One of the idea is to make Olympic Games,
Yeah.
ASD Olympic Games,
Yeah.
but in sports activities, not in sports. Like, for example, everybody can do a squat, and we are doing that every day. Why not to have center in Romania, in Serbia, and in America, and maybe to have online ASD competition, or maybe inside of Croatia, there are 4 centers in Croatia, to make on one place and separate them in categories, and we will already know who are we bringing for some kind of specific activity, squat, throwing the ball, and if we put the circle marks on the floor and 2 kilos, or then we can be able to measure the distance if there is a progress.
Right. So it's completely scalable also because rather than
Yes,
making it
and they
sport.
all like the medals around the neck like we are.
Yeah. So rather than making it sport specific, it's basically the gross motor Olympics.
Yes,
The
yes, I
generalized
like the idea.
Olympics is essentially what you're describing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That it's such a fascinating idea because it's taking it's looking at the what we would call the fundamental movement patterns and saying, okay, let's build an event around this instead of something that is so much more sport or activity specific. And
Mhm.
so, what's the feedback been so far from the families that have used the the app or are implementing the program?
I mean, the feedback is still, so we are now in test phase,
Yeah,
but they're interested. And I mean, when you say someone that has homework for adapted PE, it sounds a little bit strange,
yeah,
but it's not. I think that these are not the needs; these are the necessities.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's well, it's homework, but basically what you're doing is you're working out. You are
yeah,
doing a home fitness program. This is just the guidance system for it.
yeah, yeah.
So you wanted to get into a little bit of when I asked you, hey, what do you want to come on and talk about? You had mentioned group programming, which I know you have an extensive history of running, especially being in education in the educational setting. What is one thing, and there are plenty, but what is one thing that someone should really understand about group programming and when we're talking about again general fitness and movement programs with the ASD population from your experience, like the first thing someone should understand is what?
I will answer to you like and also for the viewers, maybe to take home message that one is better than zero.
Uh-huh.
So like binary code, I think that like one is something that they like and zero is something that they don't like. And also one is something, if we do either something is better than nothing. Compared to that, sometimes I was running program 106 and I was always here guiding physical, verbal prompting and depending, definitely lack of people. But something that comes up, the structure and consistency.
Okay.
Structure, so they know where is their marketplace, where is the start, where is the end, because they always, and we changed the gyms. We had gymnastic hall that was awesome. We could jump in the sponges, and the trampoline was. But I think that the structure and the consistency, something that pops up like two top things when you're working in groups.
Yeah, I think that the structure and the consistency are big deals. And interestingly, maybe I'd love to get your feedback on this. I was working with a pro the other day, and she asked me a really good question, and it comes up, and it definitely needs some exploring. She was asking me, well, what happens if you are, doing the program and they are seeing the results and they're continuing to progress. But what happens if you're doing the same exercises over and over and they start to get bored? Do they ever get bored? Like, and so I'd love to know. I definitely have my answers to that, but based on my experience and based on the experience of a lot of other pros. But having run so many group programs, what's your experience or your take um, with that statement or that
Hmm.
question, really?
Yeah, I think I like to change it sometimes, like in the middle, after we finish some kind of session, to give them uh, some active pause, just to wander and then go back. And there is something that I try to explain the new colleagues. And when we finish swimming lessons, so there is one thing that always happen. It's like there when we finish swimming lessons, we go on a bench, and you will see the processing of the children after swimming lessons. So they're like this. just watching in some blind spot. Sometimes we all, I mean, it happens you in the car. You're just looking at the blind spot and something is just wandering around your head, but your head is like tabula rasa. And they're processing this, and this is something that I try to let them have active pause or reprogramming what they did after the some kind of session repetition or sets.
Yeah.
So this is something that shows me, okay, they are focused, they're inside, and the brain is working and trying to set the maps and the folders in some kind of order.
Right.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think partially, and I want to get into that, but you brought up something that's really important is giving them the time to process. What I'm getting at is I think coaches may now the two scenarios. A coach may have an assumption that because they are doing the same exercises over and over and over. So you have your students.
Fundamental is fundamental.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You have your 4 or 5 students who are coming into the gym once or twice or 3 times a week, and they are doing the same fundamental movements over and over and over. And I think sometimes the coach will say, "Oh, well, what in their mind, they're thinking, what happens if they start to get bored of these exercises or these movements, even if the athlete is still progressing." And then for coaches who are less experienced or they're just starting out in their coaching, they're thinking, oh, I have to change it up every X amount of days or weeks because otherwise they will get bored. So it's this idea. What I'm really getting at is, in your experience, does boredom really play a big role? Does it come up where you have a student who says, "Oh, we're doing this again," or "Oh, can't we do something different?"
Like Stuart McGill says, and you also, it depends. But I think that board is something that, I mean, you have to do it because these are the fundamentals, and there are just some of athletes who want to change the exercise, but the fundamentals are fundamentals. You can always look some kind of postural impairment. You can always look something to improve inside of these basic movements. And I think the changing of the exercise, they are not getting that in that mental map. You can have some kind of variations,
Yeah.
just to maybe be sometimes like a little bit fun,
Hmm.
but basic movement patterns are boring. You need to do it, and these are the fundamentals. So
Yeah. I think it depends what we mean by boring. Also, because boring means what? Okay, sometimes there's um a checking out. Like
mhm.
essentially what boredom is routine, and
Habit.
it's almost a hyper familiarity. It's all
Mm.
right, we're doing this again, and I already know what it is. Okay, those are two things. We're doing it
Hmm.
again, yes. We already know what it is, or it's predictable, right? So it's routine, it's predictable, but here's the thing, especially when we talk about the fundamental exercises, has the athlete yet, and this could be neurotypical, neurodivergent, have they progressed to a point where it's useful? Is the exercise useful for them yet? And what I mean by that is, have they reached the point when we talk about in the autism fitness curriculum, standard and then modification and then progression? Have they reached standard with the push-up yet? Have they reached standard with the overhead press? Have they reached standard with the squat? If not, then we still have to program it. It still needs to be there, and I think that's one of the most important aspects of the programming process is, we're to your point, we're still working on the foundation. Should we stop working on the foundation because they need the foundation?
No, I mean, house is built up from the basis, so this is just top of the roof. It depends what roof do we want?
Yeah. That's just it. It's looking at the foundation. And there are ways, and I've seen you do this also with some of your students also. There are ways to change it around. The other thing with boredom is if an athlete seems or they express, oh, we're doing this again, or there are ways to change it on a subtle or small level that don't require, okay, let's do an entirely new program, because that's very rarely necessary. You can change up the order. You can, you were talking about earlier adding in some other fun activities there. So there are things that we can add, but we don't necessarily need to take everything away.
Yeah. For example, one of the things that is fun at the beginning. So I'm using a sports react. So this is something that you have sensors for hands and for legs, like some kind of coordination exercise, which you can have some kind of signs. And if you gave them in the beginning, they will be more motivated, and you will see if they are a highly functioning ASD athlete, they will compete at the beginning. And now they know that this is something at the beginning. But after a few months, I do it at the middle and then at the end. So variation depending on how they are prepared, how did they come, or is it some kind of period that I want something to measure? It really depends.
Yeah. I love that, because the variation is going to be not just automatic, but the variation is going to be based on needs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it needs to be useful.
yeah. Yeah. So rather than random, oh, this looks cool or this looks fun, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to throw it in because it's different. That there's a difference between variation based on need and assessment, or variation based on I'm just throwing this in because it's novel. And there's
Yeah.
two different things. And I think what you're really getting at is the functionality
Mm-hmm.
also.
And sometimes, like, I just let them to go into the gym to see and just to observe. So am I missing out something?
Mm.
And the reason I like to make some the projects, and because when you are deeply involved into the work, you cannot just step out. And I like some kind of step out to see a wider range. And just at the end, sometimes I just leave them for 5 minutes to see if there is also a possibility where can I put something inside to
Oh,
be fun.
I love that. So you're just stepping back and playing.
Yeah, just
Okay,
step back.
what happens if
Yeah.
left to their own devices? What are they going
Yes.
to do?
Yes.
I think that's such an important aspect of developing or guiding the athlete to be more independent, because as coaches or instructors or educators, we are so, and by necessity, we are so programmed to step in and coach and guide and teach. What happens if we step back, right?
Mm.
And don't and say, okay, you try it. No.
Without expectation.
Yeah, with zero expectation. Like, okay, we've done all of this training and coaching and education for this student or for this athlete, however we are regarding them. What do they do when we're not doing what we usually do? Like, I'm just observing right now, and that'll tell you a lot about how much the skill has solidified.
Mhm. And I think I will just pop up in my brain. I think I have a video about, I just left them and it lasts for 5 minutes. Okay, they didn't do anything. Do I need to go in? And after 10 minutes, they start to building. I think it's like hurdle steps or just some kind of rope swing, something like that. Just
Yeah.
started to implementing the program. And after I think that I had session yesterday. We were in gymnastic gym, and I just roll over
Yeah,
on the surface, and they were just following me up. And after 3 or 4 exercises that I've done, I just let them do what they do, and they just start hopping, and
yeah,
that's it. Okay, this is something that I need to be here, and I need to be precise, accurate with information, and just to be involved.
yeah, yeah. Because you're looking for the generalization component.
Mm, yes.
That I love that. So finally here, and you and I can go on for hours. As a coach over the last 4 or 5 years, what are the areas in which you feel like you have improved the most, as a coach? What are the things that you've learned that have really influenced the way that you coach and the way that you carry yourself as an educator today?
Hmm.
I
You
look
have
at
to
you
step back.
because you
You
don't let
have to
on
step back.
how good you are.
You have to step back sometimes because I think that Jose mentioned that because you are so in your interview that I was, so you are so deeply involved. Sometimes you cannot see the wider thing, and you just when you step out of the exercise, you see the records, then you see how you improved as a trainer. Yes, because sometimes I'm not forcing someone to do the exact number of sets or repetition, and how to just go with the flow. Go with the flow. I think that's the main idea that sometimes I just and also it depends on me. I always need to be high motivated, know what is the moment that I need to jump in, that I need to have a visual strategy, that I need to have a better contingency, better behavioral speech phrases,
Yeah.
something that, but when you just go a step or two back and it lasts for 5 to 10 seconds, then also your brains give you a lot of ideas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you've become a lot more flexible and dynamic
Yes.
coaching.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just more and more I am compelled to tell the certified pros, even when they're going through the pro course, take video, take video, get
Mhm.
video, review your video, because you get so much from that also. And I'm sure, from the mentoring standpoint, that's something that you can bring to other coaches when you're training them. But for yourself, sometimes it's difficult. But you go back and watch a video, and I have that happen too. I'm like, that didn't look as good. It didn't look as good objectively as I thought it looked when I was doing it. With a prompt or a cue or even an athlete's performance, and I'm watching a squat and saying, "Oh, that looks really good," and then you see it on video, you're like, it's not where I thought it was at the time.
And
But it's good. You need that for the growth and development.
and also I have second take home message that I think it is here.
Yeah.
I say 3 times 5. So it says when I mention, for example, do a squat after I demonstrate and label and demo and cue, and it goes first 5 seconds, third 5 seconds, 4 5 seconds, then I'm jumping in.
Yeah.
This is something that okay, either is their choice, but I need to be here. I need to initiate the movement. I need to give them the kinesthetic awareness, biomechanical characteristics, support. But this is something that I go, okay, now it's time for me to jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really important skill because many of our athletes will have a processing delay, and that
Mhm.
processing delay could be 2 seconds, it could be 20 seconds, and at some point something needs to happen too. And this is one of the most fascinating conversations or themes in conversations is the the role of the coach at any particular time, because our goal is to have the athlete be an active participant, And yes, there are certainly always considerations as far as processing delay or the athlete's self-regulation, and then and then we need to contrast that with, well, what's the goal here, and how do we balance out the athlete's current need for self-regulation or processing with the fact that yes, we also want to get this next repetition of a squat done within a reasonable amount of time so that it develops a training effect. And these are really high level, both physiological and psychological, even psycho emotional
Mhm.
processes. Like we're looking at the physiology, we're looking at the the neurology, we're looking at the neuromuscular component of it. There's a lot when you're coaching. All of those things need to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Mhm.
Marko, I greatly appreciate you joining me today and giving just a small amount of the immense work that you're doing. If people want to reach out to you, where can they? And I'll link it here. Where can they find you on social?
So first of all, thank you for your invitation, and it was really a pleasure. I have a Facebook, Instagram, but most of the things now that I do are our Sportism project, and also in our center where we share a lot of videos, and also my email, and I always give my mobile phone email and everything. So
I'll
it's
I'll
up
link
to
it.
you.
I'll link it down here.
Yeah, it's up to you if you want to contact me. But once again, just thank you for letting me share something like just one piece of the cake that is enormous.
Yeah, the layers keep going.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. And finally, what's your so if you could talk a little bit about the European project and what the goal here is, or the goal is here. Even I can't get English right. Your English is way better than mine today.
Yes, then think how is in my head to sometimes to translate something and to explain it, can't find the words.
My English.
So try to learn Croatian. So
Yeah.
it we also like, but okay. But so the project is at the phase that we will be finishing around to the end of the 2025, and there are also some kind of projects that are inside. For example, we also have one European project that is connected for horseback riding. So we want to measure if the pulse is getting calmer after the therapy sessions on the horse, and also try to implement, I will say, a autism fitness programming in schools, in facilities, probably all around the Europe, like to have some kind of Olympic Games at the end. I mean, just because uh, I don't want the athlete to be hidden. I want to be exposed, but exposed with something that is for them good,
Yeah.
and to when they achieve something to be shown, and also to encourage parents for that.
Again, I thank you for not only the extraordinary goals, but the work that you've already done in bringing this to to Croatia and beyond, Eastern Europe. And it's just always exciting to find out what you're up to and to to support also. And just the immense amount of pride that I have for you in being a master pro and delivering such a high quality um, presentation and educational experience. So Marko, I'll link all your contact information here, and thank you again, sir. I want to, obviously I'd want to do this again sometime soon.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, and hopefully I will announce a new new education in Croatia and probably even this year and next year all around Europe, because I met a lot of partners who are inside of the project, and they are all involved and think something new and revolutionary like autism fitness will serve the community in long term.
Thank you, Marco. And for those of you who are interested anywhere in the world to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro, you can head on over to autismfitness.com and start your coursework as soon as you register. Please, before you go, like, subscribe, and share this video with people who may, probably will, get something out of it. Thanks again.